We are ready to go. Yes. Good evening. The January 13, 2025 Board of Education meeting will now come to order. Mrs. Moak, the roll call, please.
Mrs. Buttimer?
Here.
Mr. Estes?
Here.
Mrs. Hill? Mrs. Syed?
Here.
Mr. Lobach?
Here.
Dr. Michael?
Here.
Dr. Bruno?
Here.
Ms. D'Argento?
Here.
Ms. Manick?
Here.
Ms. Reinman?
Here.
Thank you very much. Mr. Lobach, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Board member Julie Hill notified the superintendent that she was ill and unable to attend tonight's meeting in person and asked to attend remotely. May I have a motion to allow board member Julie Hill to attend the meeting remotely?
Motion.
Second.
Very good. Roll call, Mrs. Moak?
Mr. Estes?
Yes.
Mrs. Buttimer?
Yes.
Mrs. Syed?
Yes.
Mr. Lobach?
Yes.
Dr. Michael?
Yes.
Dr. Bruno?
Yes. Very good. Let the record show that Julie Hill joined the meeting remotely at 6:33 p.m. Very good. All right, we will begin then with presentations, and we're focused here on the Kindergarten Center construction update. Jeff, would you please introduce our guest to give us an update on construction?
Yes, I'd like to introduce Mr. Jack Hayes. He is with FQC, and he is the project manager for the Kindergarten Center project, and he's going to give an update on where we're at.
You do.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for having me back. Good to see everybody again tonight.
Welcome, Jack.
Thank you. So we thought we'd start with some pictures of what's going on site, if you haven't seen them. So the parking area here in front leads up to the building. Off to the left, you can kind of see those basketball courts. So the new outdoor play areas were completed back in November. So those are fully functional and available for the school to use. And you can see that we've basically gotten up to the roof level with the exterior masonry of the building and started doing some of the exterior framing. This is an exterior framing with what's called Dens glass on the outside, which is the board that's used as an insulating board in the wall assembly that the masonry will be installed on. That stair tower right there a little bit on the left-hand side that goes up to the roof is just to articulate the workers from the ground level to the second floor up to the roof level. And exterior framing with the studs and the den glass is going, we started here in the northwest corner, we're going to the east, and then we're going to wrap around to the south. And as we're doing that, we're trying to maintain temporary partitions and enclosures to keep some of the heat that is being used on a temporary or temp heat that's being pumped into the building, enclosed in certain areas. And with that temp heat that we had and the enclosures, this is the second floor. So we were able to install the concrete floor. We were able to pour the concrete floor for the second floor, which has been a huge benefit because we've been able to then start doing electrical rough-in. The HVAC ductwork was delivered this last week. We're starting to do layout for interior walls and framing. So real significant progress is available to the project because of decisions by the district and administration in the budget that was approved to spend money on temporary protection and heating the space so that work can continue. So real progress is being made by really all trades. We've got plumbers, electricians, HVAC contractors, carpenters. We've installed a temp roof as well to keep it dry, which is really going to be a huge advantage for us over the next 2 to 3 months as we work towards temperatures that will allow the permanent roof to be installed. Again, some temporary enclosures. This is kind of the second floor overlooking what will be the large gross motor area on the east side of the building. Again, more temp protection and exterior framing and then temporary protection. We're trying to keep now the first floor enclosed so that it doesn't freeze, so that we can pour the first floor slab. That's going to, we're just finishing some final plumbing work and some underground electrical work in the first floor slab, so we can pour the first floor slab. Some of the other activities that are going on beyond just construction work is the preparation for the bidding of the roadway work. So White and Company, our partners on the design side, have been working with the county, DuPage County, to get approval for the design documents so that we can go out for bid for the roadway work. They got another round of permit comments over the holidays, and they're close enough at this point that we just can't wait any longer for the permit approval. We're going to go out for bid with the current set, and if there's permit comments that come in, we'll adjust to those after we have the bids. So our plan right now is to receive bids, or to go out for bid here next week, get bids in February, bring them back to the board for approval. That will be the last bid package that we'll have to come to the board with for approval for the overall project. So overall schedule, with everything that you've seen with temporary protection and so forth, is going well. We have been able to make up some time with the investments that have been made. So the end of August, that August 25th date that we kind of keep talking about, is looking very promising. And then we're just going to have to work through our coordination with the district as far as getting the classroom set up, getting the furniture in, and so forth. So there's going to be that crunch time there at the end of our activities and the start of your activities, but things are looking very promising. Questions?
Yeah, sure. Questions, comments from the board? Yeah. Jason, go ahead.
Guys are easy, come on.
Bake the August date.
Yeah,
That'd be a comment, bake that date.
yeah, so I mean, as we talked about, you know, we were months behind where we wanted to be, and the pressure is going to be on us. The district has made smart decisions to invest in compression, overtime, temporary protection, temporary roofs. All of those are good things that are helping the schedule. And the challenge is going to be is getting everything set up for students. There might be that time at the beginning of the school year where there's just going to need to be some accommodations on both sides to make it livable. So.
Please, Jess.
Is that an opportunity for there to be like an all-hands-on-deck situation where we have volunteers help set up? Is there an opportunity?
Oh, you-
Is that the kind of, that we could have in the building for that setup time? Or have we thought through how we can, if we're in crunch time, how we can expedite that with more hands?
So we've started to have some of those conversations and kind of queued the district up to start thinking about those things. I know there's a new principal that's been hired for that, and we hope that she is able to participate in some of those conversations as well.
Yeah, we've started introductory conversations on that. I think as we get closer and we know where we are exactly,
Yep,
if we need all hands on deck, that's absolutely something we can do.
yep.
Jack, so over the next, it's great to see that we're making up for some lost time. I think we're all appreciative of the effort, and it's great that you've gotten such good cooperation from your contractors and from the trades who are putting people on these jobs and obviously putting in a lot of hours to
Right.
help us meet the deadline. So over the next 60, 90 days, if that's and maybe that's not the best timeframe, but what, if things continue to go in a positive directions, what should we expect to see? I mean, if we brought you back in 60 days or 90 days, what would the images be showing us?
So I think there's going to be a lot of work going on inside the building. That's going to be our focus, because in the end, you have to make sure that you get far enough along, because the things that are kind of critical path for success on this project are going to be the installation of windows and the installation of casework. Casework is all the cabinetry and all the built-ins and the cubbies for the kids and the teaching wall and all of those kind of things. there's a tremendous amount of that work, and that's all finished carpentry work. So the shop drawing process, the fabrication process is what we're paying attention to now on those items, so that in the next 60 to 90 days, where we want to be is to have the building entirely enclosed with as much glazing or glass as we can get, and be working on the interior trades to get to the point where we can see when we can start installing some of those finishes. And the first one would be casework. So we'll have drywall, 60 to 90 days, we should have drywall up, we should have door frames in, we should have all the rough plumbing, in all the bathrooms, there's a lot of bathrooms. And we should be working our way towards the ability to start working at finishes.
Okay,
So
yeah.
glass is a big one.
Makes sense. And the other question that I had, and we talked a little bit beforehand, we're heading into some, pretty cold
Right.
weather. And I know we were joking about people working in just
Yeah.
hoodies
Yeah.
inside the building today. And obviously, we'll continue to get some bitterly cold weather. Any concerns or any implications? I know a lot of construction is now year-round, but any
is.
concerns?
Yeah, there's a couple of things that come into play. I mentioned the first floor slab. We have to do pretty aggressive temporary heat to keep the ground from freezing so that we can pour concrete. You can't pour, even if you can get the concrete, you can't pour it onto a frozen ground. So we have to invest money in making sure that we can pour concrete. That's pretty critical. The other impact weather has is efficiency. And we have been meeting on a monthly basis with all of the trade contractors to talk about how to compress, what do they need to make their time on this project as efficient as possible. And those things that we can control, we've gotten input on, and we're able to impact those and control those by the measures that you've seen. We can't control 10 degrees outside. And so some contractors will have an efficiency premium where their guys have to take additional breaks during the day to get into a warm area so that they can be safe, essentially. And so instead of having an 8-hour day, we may only get a 6-hour of production out of them. And the contractors will want to get paid for that premium for the loss of efficiency because they're not able to produce as much work. So that's another impact that we're addressing as well.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, Jess?
This might be a question for you, Jeff. How's furniture factor in? Have we selected it? Do we know it'll be there when we need it?
Yes, I'm going to look at Mr. DePorter. Field this one.
Yeah, good question. Question was, how is the furniture process? So again, similar to when we did the Hadley addition here, we did have a committee that met and reviewed some options that were presented by White and Company. Those options have been selected. Furniture has been priced out. We've talked to the supplier. We have a plan as far as the lead time of the ordering, so we're ahead of that. It's going to be fine. In fact, we've already got plans in place to stage it somewhere else, so they can unpackage it, get it ready, so then when they bring it on site, it's that much quicker and more efficient.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, good question.
Terrific. Anything else? Well, before I let you go, I want to turn to Kelly. Did he do okay? Should I let him go? Is he done? Okay, all right.
My daughter Kelly.
Daughter Kelly, nice to have you here, Kelly. All right, Jack, thanks for coming out and giving us the update, and let everybody working on that project, from all of the contractors, supervisors, to every tradesperson, how much we appreciate their effort,
Absolutely, I appreciate that. I will pass it along.
please.
All right, thank you very much.
All right, good evening, stay warm, bye-bye. Okay. All right, we will then move to public participation. Members of the public who wish to address the board should complete a form and submit it to Mrs. Moak. We ask that speakers respect that we are obligated to adhere to YouTube community guidelines and are asked to maintain respectful decorum and limit comments to 3 minutes or less. About 30 seconds left of your comments. I will politely ask you to wrap your comments up. Mrs. Moak, is there anyone wishing to make public comment?
Mike Swerp.
Mike, thank you, Mike.
My request is much simpler than the prior gentleman. I would like to see more homework given to the kids in the grade school level, specifically mathematics. I have kids that have gone through District 41, and I have 2 grandchildren that are in 41 right now. And when they come home, I don't know if you know how this works with, and I'm not sure if I know how it works, but I think they have a textbook in the classroom, and they have a homework book at home, so they don't have to transport it. They come home, they rip out the page, 1 page, they do their work, take it in. It's literally done 2, 3, 4 minutes. I think they just need more. They look at this, they teach kids left-brained mathematics. I'm left-brained. That's how I subscribe to this as opposed to right-brain. The mathematics and the science part of it. So when they add 2 numbers like 98 and 106, they don't add it the old way. 98 is 100 minus 2, and 106 is 100 plus 6. The 200s, 6 minus 2, do most of that in their heads. That's how they're taught. They can't complete it unless they do that and completely do that, continue to do that. I don't come to you as a grandfather. I have experience with this. I have a bachelor's degree in mathematics, master's degree in mathematics, 30 hours beyond the master's in mathematics and mathematics education. I taught for 32 years. I'm a financial representative, and I hold 3 licenses with the SEC and the state of Illinois. I use math all the time. And I think you're cheating the kids by not giving a little more homework. 1 more page. I'm not here to create work for anybody. But if there's 3 or 4 fifth grade classes in every one of the buildings, or there are 10 fifth grade teachers, or 10 fourth grade, or 10, once every 10 days, 15 days, whatever it is, write up 10, 15 problems.
30 seconds, Mike.
Okay, Xerox it and send it off. I can't think of another way. I'd be happy to help with that. I think you're cheating the kids by not giving them that. You're not preparing them for grade or for the middle school. I see it with my kids, I see it with other kids, and I see the honors kids getting much more homework. Okay, that's the bell.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you for your time.
Appreciate you coming out this
Appreciate it.
evening. Thank you. Mrs. Moak, anyone else? All right, very good. All right, then we will move into reports, and we will begin with the filler. Yeah, we'll begin with, here he comes. Oh, yeah, the superintendent's report. Here he is. You're up, Dr. McHugh. Maybe not quite yet. We have technical difficulties.
There we go.
Ah, there we go.
Okay. Tonight, I would like to share 4 different topics. I'm going to do a kindergarten update to complement what Jack presented about the construction, talk about the strategic plan, student personal technology devices, and everyone's favorite topic, transportation. So Jack talked about the building outside. There's so much work going on, as you heard. What cabinet, the administration, and the staff is working on is, what are we going to do inside the building? So there's so much planning and logistics going on right now. And I wanted to highlight the key to so many decisions is registration. So for those of you watching at home, for those of you watching the recording, registration for grades K through 8 starts on January 15th. So everybody needs to register. Now, it is Wednesday. Now, we don't cut off registration ever. We're a public school district. We'll take students at any time through the school year, over the summer. However, kindergarten is going to be different this year. So we are putting a February 15th date on that we are encouraging all families with an incoming kindergartner to register from January 15th to February 15th. The reason for that is based on those numbers, we are going to solidify so many of those decisions, from how many classrooms will we have at the kindergarten center to how many half-day classrooms will we have and what buildings will those classrooms be at. All of our staffing decisions, resources, so much goes into that, and it hinges on those numbers for kindergarten. So after February 15th, you can still register for kindergarten, or you can say, Dr. McHugh, I would like to change my decision from half to full or full to half, but I can't guarantee we'll be able to give you exactly what you want after the 15th. But we are going to do our best for everyone who registers by February 15th for kindergarten to try to meet everybody's needs. That is our goal. We're going to do our best for that. But after the 15th, it will need superintendent's approval to make a change, or if you're looking to have half-day in a certain building, we may or may not be able to accommodate that. So we have, we received over 300 pre-registrations for kindergarten, which is wonderful. And we personally reached out and emailed all of those families. But if you know somebody who has an incoming kindergartner, please, please, please tell them by February 15th to register. We'd love everyone else registering by that point too. There's just, it's less critical, that February 15th date, than it is for kindergarten. In the meantime, we're trying to figure out what room locations will look like both in the kindergarten center and also Churchill. So one of the questions was around dual language. Dual language is a program at Churchill. We currently offer it K through 5. And the question is, were we going to house dual in Churchill or in the kindergarten center? We ultimately decided to keep that at Churchill for a number of reasons. The main reason being Churchill is, dual language is a Churchill program. It's under the direction of Mr. Juan Suarez and the principal of Churchill, Mrs. Amanda Cantor. In addition, we are going to have 2 separate classrooms this year we envision for dual. Right now we have 1 because they're 2 half-day sections. We're looking to have 2 next year. And when that kindergarten center is full, whether it's this year or next year, to have an additional 2 rooms for dual would be very difficult. So dual will be housed in Churchill, but not too far from the kindergarten center. And we are also looking to do wiring right now for a number of rooms in Churchill. For example, we're looking at having a room where we could have some related services and support staff housed in there at Churchill who are going to also support the kindergarten center. We're working on wiring that so that any announcements from the kindergarten center can be heard in those classrooms. So lots of decisions we're planning for, but again, registration is the headline here. And Jason, when does that start?
Wednesday, 15th.
Wednesday, the 15th. In December, we talked about the strategic plan and our refresh, and I came to you with 4 recommendations: restructuring goal areas, revising metrics, adjusting the committee structure, and communicating the plan. Our administrative team right now is hard at work on that, and we anticipate bringing a draft to you in February of what our current thinking is. We're not going to ask you to take action in February. We'll want to get some feedback on that, but we're making good progress on figuring out those pieces, and I thank you for your direction on this refresh. Student personal technology devices. Our student board members spoke so eloquently about this just a few months ago. And for those of you tuning in who weren't following along with all of our previous board meetings, we as a board did a book study on the anxious generation. And what came out of that was the board tasking me with coming to you with a recommendation. What are we going to do about student personal technology devices? Cell phones in schools, Apple Watches, earbuds. What are we going to do for that? Now, we already have board policy on that. But the question is, does that board policy still meet the needs of our community, our students, our staff, and our families? So I have a timeline here that Erica Crabiel, our Chief Communications Officer, has the wonderful opportunity of leading. It's going to be a robust community engagement session where we're going to, throughout the month of January, be talking to a number of various groups. I have my very first superintendent's Community Advisory Council this Thursday, which I can't wait. We're going to talk technology. And that has people who have students in the district as well as community members who don't, which I really did want to hear from people who don't right now have kids in the district. We're going to talk technology this Thursday. A week from Thursday, our Student Advisory Council is going to meet, and guess what we're going to talk about? Technology, that's right. So spoiler alert, girls, the three of you will be talking tech. There is a Wait Till Eighth group that came and spoke at a board meeting not too long ago. They've met with me once. They're going to connect with me. And we're already also talking as an administrative team. We're talking to staff. In the month of February, we are going to blanket the community as well as families, students, and staff to get their perspectives on what's working with technology and what are areas we might look to improve. We're talking to Glenbard West. What are we doing there? We're talking to surrounding districts. We're going to have a whole heaping pile of information that we are going to bring to the March 3rd Committee of the Whole meeting. And we hope to have standing room only for this, just like kindergarten, to talk about this information we have. And after that, I will be able to bring you a recommendation of, are we looking to change the policy? Is the policy great, but do we need to tweak some of our practices to implement? Regardless, we are going to have a lot of information from a variety of stakeholders to make that recommendation. And lastly, transportation. We had a bumpy start to January for those of you with bussers. Do any of you take the bus? Oh, all three of you. We had a bumpy start at Hadley, but not only at Hadley. And I'm speaking to our students, but also to our families out there, that we are aware that transportation, busing in particular, is still an issue, and Safeway needs to get better. So Eric and I have been in constant communication with them, and we are personally going to be meeting with them, I believe, on Wednesday, talking to leadership. They need to clean this up. So I just need everybody to hear that we are not settling in. This is just how it is, and this is how it's always going to be. They needed to be better, and it was very disappointing how we started the school year, especially with the temperatures being as low as they were, and that was impacting our kids and their families. We know it. We're not okay with it, and we are addressing it with Safeway.
One question, can I just question as to that?
That ends the superintendent report, but I would love to field questions. Jay?
As to the transportation, obviously, we had significant issues at the start of the school year. And at the start of this calendar year, we're, again, seeing issues. I've physically seen it as after dropping the kids off at Ben Frolic and seeing the Hadley kids still sitting out there waiting for the buses. As these transportation issues continue, are we looking at the potential of putting this out to bid for next school year?
It's a good question. I mean, it's certainly not something we've ruled out. The challenge lies really in the market space. You know, there are not many bus companies that can scale up and handle a district of our size, bearing in mind that we have a partnership with District 87. So certainly not off the table, but, our focus would be on getting Safeway to perform up to the level we expect and are going to demand.
Question.
Please.
Is there any consideration of doing in-house busing and transitioning away from third parties?
That's a great question. We have not really walked down that path very far. I know other districts have attempted it. It is a substantial effort. It requires a lot of upfront capital. I think we would need approximately 60 buses. Buses are close to $500,000 a piece. So it would be a substantial move for this district, but it's not off the table. That's something we have discussed briefly.
I think I'm going to speak personally on this one. The start to 2025 with this has rekindled that in my mind of here we go again, and they need to be better. So while I share Eric's desire, let's get it better, Safeway, because we have the buses, we have the drivers, let's make it better. If they can't make it better, then we may have to go back to the drawing board of some creative solutions.
Yeah, I know there's grants for electric buses, and I don't know if that would give us an opportunity to step into doing some of our own buses. And I know of districts that do their own buses, and what I hear from that is that they have the same bus drivers every year. They get to know the kids. They know them by name. It's a good communication between the bus driver and the district because they're a district employee and have years of tenure in there. And so it's just, that sounds better than what we're experiencing right now. But I know it's a significant investment and it would have to be probably a multi-year plan, but this hasn't seemed to work for many years, not just this year, so.
If I could, and I think the state of Illinois' subsidy program for electric buses will cover up to 75%. And electric buses are more expensive than gas, powered buses. But it does cover 3/4 or more of the, now that's not counting, of course, a driver. Right, it's the bus, and there is some maintenance related. But there was an interesting article actually in today's Daily Herald, which talked about a number of districts that have purchased a few buses. And to Jess's point, what I wrote down was, could an option, something that we think about, could there be a graduated step up where you, over time, you
Like you do the
You move.
kindergarten, and
Yeah.
then you do Hadley, and then you.
yeah.
Yada, yada.
But clearly, when service is less than what you have a right to expect, you're compelled to consider alternatives and other options. So appreciate the district
And we
thinking
have some
about that.
acres of space.
You can park those buses. Look at her.
Saying.
Yeah, please.
I just think it's fair to say, in having this conversation, Safeway, listen to the conversations they're having at the board.
Yeah,
Please.
yeah. Be a good idea. Well, thank you for staying on top of it, both of you. And again, I'm sorry that the community, parents have had to, and the kids have had to wrestle with this at the start of the calendar year. Can I ask one question, either Jeff or Erica? I think I heard you answer it, though, in your comments, Jeff. The wonderful response pre-registration for kindergarten. I mean, that's a really terrific response rate. Very, very envious of that kind of a response. And small, tiny concern was, well, do people think, well, I'm done. I already did it. I pre-registered. They don't mean me. They mean somebody else. I'm assuming you've thought of that too, and you have personal emails of those people who are going to say, hey, you didn't register. You need to do it. Yeah, is that it? Okay, that makes me feel good. Correct?
Yes.
All right, that's good. All right, then thank you. Let's turn to the board and see if the board has any reports. And Julie, I will include you on this if you have a report, but I'll start with some folks here at the table, and then when we're done, I'll come to you, just giving you a little prep. Anyone at the table with a board report? Jess, was that you? Comment, thought? No?
I do have a board report.
Okay.
I attended the Churchill PTA meeting. Oh, my goodness. Very well attended. They had donuts. There's going to be a donut fundraiser of some kind, perhaps around Valentine's Day, so look out for that. I didn't have one, but they looked delicious. And Dr. McHugh, you were there.
I had two.
Yeah,
Donuts?
you had to. Yes, how were they?
Fantastic.
But lots and lots going on at Churchill. But I also wanted to just take a moment to thank the Churchill families for all the sacrifice that they've gone through this year. Just so much upheaval and unusualness going on with the construction. And it's really made an impact for a lot of those special moments, particularly at the 5th grade, where it's a very special year, and they've had to make so many adjustments to some of those programs, and they didn't have their playground until November, and even now it's, sort of a little bit of a trek, and there's some wood chips, and the weather's not made that great. So just want to really thank that community for bearing with it. This is a burden that is for the whole of the district that they bear, not just for the Churchill community, because the whole district is going to benefit from this kindergarten center. So take a moment to thank your Churchill families and friends for their sacrifice and kind of soldiering through all of this upheaval.
I want to echo that because Churchill has been impacted differently than the other schools. And I think in addition to thanking the families and the students there, Mrs. Cantor and Mr. DePorter have been talking to see are there things that we can do creatively to partner with them to support those students, especially because while those who will have students at Churchill next year will benefit from the beautiful new playground, those with fifth graders this year, not as much. So we want to see what we can do to support those families, those kids, those families. So thank you, Churchill.
And Wednesday is a big day. It's registration, but it's also at Glenbard Parent Series. Speaker Bruce Perry speaking on what happened to you, a shift from what is wrong with you. And then January 16th, another one about the Adverse Childhood Experiences Guided Journal, a workshop for parents. And January 22nd and 23rd, we have 2 more sessions. So very full calendar. Please check out gpsparentseries.org for all of the upcoming events. We are very, very fortunate to have this in our backyard. Many of them are on Zoom. Most of them are on Zoom, and so it's very easy to attend, and you'll always get something useful to put into your parenting life skills pocket. So please
Thank you.
check that out.
Thank you, Jess. Anyone? Yes, Heba, please.
I just want to add to Jess and the shout out for GPS because they do have a program at Glen Ellyn Library tomorrow in collaboration with Wait Till 8th called Managing Technology in a Hyper Digital Age. And then they have another one January 28th. So both are at 7 p.m. at Glenbard West Library. So a good FYI.
Yeah, yes, good update. Okay, then, seeing no other, I will turn to our distinguished student board members and take it away, Alicia, Helen, Tess.
So for about 2 weeks now, everyone has been reviewing expectations with their teachers and just trying to refresh after the break. 8th grade had an assembly with Ms. Ibarra and Mr. Gazzetti to refresh expectations. 6th graders and 7th graders are having theirs soon. We looked at lots of data, and we got reminded that we need to just do the Hadley way by treating our peers and staff members nicely, respectfully, and being safe.
Similarly to what Helen said, this past week, each grade level had a quarterly refresh assembly where we looked at the cultures survey results from last year to determine what behaviors need to change and where students feel unsafe so we can better ourselves as Wildcats and take the data into account when making behavioral decisions. 8th graders were also sent their class recommendations for West next year, and students will also be participating in an 8th grade open house this Wednesday, the 15th.
To add on to what Helen and Tess were saying, I'm not sure if the board knows this, but Ms. Ibarra, the restorative practice coach here at Hadley, put together this organization called Homeroom Ambassadors, where this is like a selected person from each homeroom, and they meet together once a month to talk about expectations and how to get the word out. We had a meeting a couple months ago where we made posters with all the classroom expectations. We put them all up in the hallways all over the school. And we just had one last week, and we got a sheet of paper with some of the expectations, and we had to present them to our homeroom, which is just a really creative and effective way to get the word around.
You got me curious. I haven't walked through the school lately, haven't seen any posters. What were some of the few expectations that were put up on posters? Yeah, okay, well, good.
Sometimes they just get knocked down by students coming through the hallways. But some of the, just be respectful to teachers, be quiet when somebody's talking. Oh, yeah. So, I think at the beginning of the year, it was we always do this refresh of the student book and all the little rules we have. And you just make little fun posters for kids to be reminded what's good in school, what's not, cell phones, dress codes, stuff like that.
Okay, yeah, great. Thank you. Good work. Good work, all of you. All right. Well, thanks for the reports, and we will then move into our discussion item. We have a sole discussion item. Importantly, we have a budget calendar. Mr. DePorter, you can facilitate this. please.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is an annual requirement of the budget development process through the state of Illinois. So on the screen, you'll see this year's budget development calendar. Jumping just to the bottom real quick, I did estimate a couple August and September board dates. As that schedule is not finalized yet, those two dates may change for the August and September meeting. Otherwise, the process is similar to what we've experienced in years past. This year being a little different with the staffing aspect connected to opening a new building. That's going to be a little bit more robust and talked about item, but we do plan to have those decisions made here in early spring. So we'll be prepared to move towards developing the rest of the budget. The last thing I would say, as much as it's not on the development calendar in front of you, this is a 12-month process. As you recall, in the fall, we've already planned out the summer capital work that will be happening in the summer of '25. We have technology plans that have already been put in place. So much of the budget is determined based on those types of items. But there still remains to be, quite a few discussions and decisions to be made. And this is the calendar we're going to use to follow that process.
Well, it's good to see the calendar, and it is an important tool to kind of keep us headed in the direction where we need to go, and it does meet the legal requirements. So thank you for putting it together. Yes, any questions about this calendar? Yeah? No. Thank you. Okay, we will move into our action items, and first up is, as always, the consent agenda. Are there any items board members would like to be removed from the consent agenda to be considered separately?
Yes, I was just going to have a question on one,
You have a question of one?
on the personnel report. It's a general question, not necessarily related to the personnel report. It's a general question about an issue coming up on the personnel report.
So you're asking to just set
I
aside?
just have a question about like a specific, like a process that has come up vis-à-vis the personnel report, not specifically the personnel report itself. So I'm not sure if that needs to get pulled or just ask in general.
So it's not about the report itself, but it's a process question.
My question is raised is because of the process. Sure, that's fine.
Okay, well then we will cover it here. We'll keep it inside consent. Thank you, Jay, for the clarification. Okay, then with that, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, which includes the employment recommendations and resignations on the personnel report, donation, disposal of surplus property, investment schedule, monthly revenue expenditure summary report, school district payment orders, summary of bills and payroll, treasurer's report, open and closed board meeting minutes of December 16, 2025, and the review of closed session meeting minutes and closed session audio for destruction. I need a motion.
Motion.
Second?
Second?
Very good. Mrs. Moak, please.
Mr. Estes?
Yes.
Mrs. Buttimer?
Yes.
Mrs. Syed?
Yes.
Dr. Michael?
Yes.
Mrs. Hill?
Julie?
Julie, can you hear us?
I can hear some of you, yes.
Mr. Lobach?
Yes.
Dr. Bruno?
Yes. And Julie, I guess I do owe you an apology. I was going to give you a chance to let us know if you had a board report, and then I forgot that you were there. Do you have that
No
report?
problem. I didn't have anything to report.
Oh, good. Sorry, my apologies, but we'll move on then. Very good. All right, we've got a couple of recommendations.
Should I ask that question here or?
Oh, you want to do it now?
Oh,
Okay.
perfect. And Dave is welcome into it, so that actually makes sense. So a question that arose from the personnel report, so we had a teacher resign mid-school year, which, I haven't seen before. And I think I understand it, like, what are the implications of that, both for the district and for a teacher that resigns mid-year?
So the implications?
Yes.
Yeah, so, there is some rules about like where if a teacher leaves a district to go to another school district, there is stuff that within ISB, they would say that they can, but there has to be like a grace period of about 30 days, right? It used to be a little bit more tighter that you could pull their license, do all those things. ISB has changed that in the past few years. So there's a 30-day notice. What we try to do is, while this is not typical that we see a resignation occur, we first try to work with the teacher to see if we can support them and not have them resign and understand why is that. If the reason still is to choose to do so, we support them if it's for, I guess, reasons that make sense, right? Like maybe there's things that go on personally, maybe there's things that go on just that changes. But if they're leaving our district to go to another school district, there's definitely things that we would do within the state of Illinois. Dr. McHugh would reach out to ISB and all that. I would reach out to the other HR person on the other side of the district. So there's not much you can do except there's a grace period of waiting time that they would stay with us. The reason for that grace period is for the reason of us finding someone else. We, District 41, was on another side where an employee a few years ago left one school district to come to our school district mid-year, and we had to give them about a 6-week notice, and then that person transitioned into our district. We would do the same thing for this, for our situation.
Yeah, I was just curious, because like I said, this is the first I've seen it in the 7-some years I've been on the board, so it is something that's common. But I did see how the school handled it here, and it was impressed with the notification that came out. They had their plan in place. This is what was going on. This is how this was how the classroom was getting covered. We had a teacher in place, so it was handled impressively by the district. But I was just curious what the process was generally. So
Yeah, good question.
David, thank you. All right, so a couple of recommendations. The first is board policy revisions. This is the second reading, and we will be adopting. May I have a motion to approve and adopt the board policy revisions as outlined in the board report?
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, Mrs. Moak?
Mrs. Syed?
Yes.
Mr. Lobach?
Yes.
Mrs. Hill?
Julie?
Julie?
I'm sorry, I can't hear the smoke. Yes.
Mrs. Buttimer?
Yes.
Mr. Estes?
Yes.
Dr. Michael?
Yes.
Dr. Bruno?
Yes, and that motion passes. And then second is to approve the 25-26 school year calendar. May I have a motion to approve the 25-26 school year calendar as outlined in the board report?
Motion.
Need a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I just have a comment.
Please, Taba.
I just want to say, being part of that committee was my first time in my board years, and I really appreciated the effort and the collaboration and the sincerity that went in that process for everybody there. And, you know, this calendar was very, very well thought out and considerate. I just wanted to add that in. So thank you for the committee and all their hard work.
Not an easy thing to do to put all those pieces together. Thank you. Please, Steve.
I was on the calendar committee last year, and it was very challenging, and I didn't have nearly the complications that you had on this one. So I do appreciate all the hard work, and this is the absolute best that is available. This is, you know, we have certain guidelines and days that we have to get in, and this is the compromise from all the different groups, and there's just so much that goes into it. So.
Indeed, indeed. Well, thank you very much. Okay, then with that, roll call, Nancy.
Mrs. Hill?
You're up, Julie.
Yes.
Mr. Estes?
Yes.
Mrs. Buttimer?
Yes.
Mr. Lobach?
Yes.
Dr. Michael?
Yes.
Mrs. Syed?
Yes.
Dr. Bruno?
Yes, and this motion passes also. And then the third item is a motion to reimburse Board Member Ted Estes for expenses incurred as outlined in the board report.
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion? None? Yep, okay, we're good. Mrs. Moak, roll call.
Mrs. Hill?
You're up, Julie.
Yes. Yes, I heard that one.
Mrs. Buttimer?
Yes.
Mr. Estes?
Present.
Mrs. Syed?
Yes.
Dr. Michael?
Yes.
Mr. Lobach?
Yes.
Dr. Bruno?
Yes. Motion passes. Thank you all. All right, we're going to move into our board governance learning together segment of the meeting, and we're focusing here on ISB's Vision 2030 resolution, and the board has had available to them information from ISB to consider, which also includes a resolution that we will consider adopting this evening. But I'm going to turn to Dr. McHugh really to lend some context and his level of commitment and enthusiasm for Vision 2030. Please, Jeff.
If you recall, Vision 2020 was just a few years ago that we adopted that resolution. And, well, let's not talk about that one. Let's move ahead and talk about Vision 2030. I think one of the things that to me was most apparent when I saw this is there's a lot of really good stuff in there, and I think it's because of the collaboration. So this is not just ISB. This was also the Illinois Association of School Administrators. This was the IASBO, the school business officials. This was a whole alphabet soup of different educational organizations that had a lot of educators sitting on this with lawmakers hand in hand from across the state. And I think it really showed, because I think sometimes when a resolution is put forward, you can tell that it's really, there's a bent toward school districts, whether it's more rural, whether it's more suburban, whether it's more urban, depending on, it doesn't look like it's benefiting all. But when I looked at Vision 2030, I see District 41, a lot of the challenges that we've had from accountability, state designations, predictable funding, future-focused learning, a lot of those things do apply to us. And again, I think it's because they had a lot of really smart people in the room talking through problems. So I think from where I sit educationally, I fully support the adoption of Vision 2030, and I think it'll be good for the kids of District 41.
Thank you, Jeff. Board members, do you have any questions about the context that Jeff laid out, his support for the material that was sent to you in the toolkit, which got into some of the bulleted points? Any questions or comments?
I have one comment, and I make the comment from a special education parent lens, and it relates to the point about assessments being meaningful and relevant, and just the idea that assessments don't need to just be a linear set of assessments, that you can assess a child in a way that allows a child to show what they know in the way that allows the child to communicate that in the way best for them. And I think things like thinking outside of a normal test is important. I think things like that are kind of put into this Vision 2023, and I was really happy to see that.
Yes. And there's a fuller report. There's the toolkit that has some talking points, but there's even a more extensive report that is available. And so board members could read through that if they'd like. And it was in 2020 that this district did adopt that a resolution then. All right, and so the second step to this then is the resolution for 2030. And hopefully board members have had a chance to read through the resolution. It was posted in the book. This is an ask of school districts, and given our superintendent's enthusiasm for this vision and this report, I'd like to recommend that we adopt the resolution. Yeah.
One question from a procedural perspective. It's not on the agenda for action tonight. So is it proper to adopt the resolution with just under other? As long as Nancy says yes, I'm good.
We need a motion and a second, and then we will.
Motion.
Yeah, there's a
Second.
there you go. Okay, Mrs. Moak, roll call please on the Vision 2030 resolution.
Mrs. Hill?
You're up, Julie.
Yes. Yes.
Dr. Maiko?
Yes.
Mr. Lobach?
Yes.
Mrs. Buttimer?
Yes.
Mr. Estes?
Yes.
Mrs. Syed?
Yes.
Do I need to-
Dr.
Dr.
Bruno?
Bruno.
Oh, good. I didn't get left out. Yes. Thank you. And Dr. McHugh, thank you for sort of bringing that packet together and stressing the point that you have these 5 major organizations impacting education and that you have worked with other folks across those various organizations to help bring this to fruition. So thank you. All right, any other learning together?
Yeah.
Jess has a learning together. Yes, of
Or
course.
another.
What's that?
Or an other.
Yeah.
It's a learning together. I'm going to call it that.
So as a board, we're going to be reading Brave New Words, How AI Will Revolutionize Education and Why That's a Good Thing, says Salman Khan, who founded Khan Academy. And I was thinking we might want to be done with this before spring break, if you guys want to, but that would mean doing some review at the committee of the whole. Can we do that? No.
Can we be,
No, those are that committee of the whole.
Yeah, I think maybe it's too much to try to do at 2 meetings then. So I was going to propose, so we won't, we'll go into the April meeting, and we'll do 3 chapters a meeting. Does that sound fair? It's about 50-ish pages. give or
works for
take.
me. Hey, that's,
Y'all good with that? 3 chapters per meeting?
It's pretty quick reading.
Is it?
Yeah.
my students at the university would be thrilled to find about
Does
50 pages of reading.
Can we
Does
use AI to
anybody wanna-
summarize it?
Can you use AI to summarize? No.
Does anybody want to do it in 2 meetings? Then you'd have to.
You were
Ted's already
about,
read it.
you were about to hit the mic.
Already read it?
No, Ted already has read it,
Yeah,
it seems like.
Almost.
Yeah, I'm
Well,
almost.
Jeff, did you have a thought?
We do have we have the February 10th board meeting and the March 17th. I do wonder if that would be the opportunity to do half of it by the 10th and the other half, and then wrap it.
You mean
Yeah.
wrap it up at,
There's 9 chapters, so we could do 5 for the first and 4 for the second, if you guys feel ambitious.
I haven't picked it up yet, but it doesn't look like it's all that thick.
It's
so.
not that thick, no. It's not that first book we read.
oh, is she talking about me?
That was me. No,
Well, that was you.
wasn't me.
That's right.
It was me. It was Woody or something.
If I could just make a comment, for personal reasons, I would like to extend it to April.
Okay,
March will be hard for me.
all right, yeah, so three
Okay.
chapters then.
3
There's some
chapters?
stuff going on in March.
All right, very good. Jess, thank you for the recommendation and for taking lead. And if you have some questions you want to prompt board members to sort of think about before.
I will, yeah.
That
I'll
may or
send
may
them
not
out.
work.
ChatGPT had a few, so I'm sure I can pull from there.
I bet they did.
Ted, what have your thoughts been so far? Easy read? Interesting?
It's a pretty easy read. I'm withholding judgment.
All right.
Okay, great. Thank you, Jess. Julie, you good with that? Also?
Yes.
Did she say 3 chapters the first week?
She said
Or the
three,
first time?
3 chapters by the next board meeting, and then 3 chapters after that, and then 3 chapters to close it out.
I do appreciate
After that.
Julie's
Yep.
watching on YouTube. and
Sounds
YouTube's
good.
lagging behind. She's
Okay.
trying to follow along.
All right, thank you. All right, wonderful. Then, upcoming meetings, February 10th will be our regular Board of Education meeting here at 6:30, and then you've heard mention, we will hold our March Committee of the Whole meeting at 6:30 here, and then on March 17th, the regular Board of Education meeting. Okay, yeah, very good. Are there any items board members wish to present for consideration for a future agenda? Very good. Then we will adjourn to closed session. May I have a motion to adjourn to closed session to confidentially discuss Section 2C1, the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the district or legal counsel for the district, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee or against legal counsel for the district to determine its validity, and Section 2C5, the purchase or lease of real property for the use of the school board, including meetings held for the purpose of discussing whether a particular parcel should be acquired. And the board will not be taking action after closed session. So our guests can go home and get warm. We thank you for coming.
Motion.
All right, motion.
Second.
Second. Mrs. Moak,
Mrs. Hill?
you're up, Julie.
Mr. Estes?
Yes.
Mr. Lobach?
Yes.
Dr. Michael?
Yes.
Mrs. Buttimer?
Yes.
Mrs. Syed?
Yes?
Dr. Bruno?
Yes. Thank you. Good evening.